Hello. Now you can fall asleep while we talk about energy, okay? It's a choice between sharing in this great energy wealth or sharing in the poverty promised by Hillary Clinton.
On May 26, Donald Trump told a crowd in North Dakota about his energy plans for the U.S., and the speech didn't make any sense.
And if Hillary can shut down the mines, she can really shut down our whole country, and your business will be permanently, in many cases, permanently ruined.
Trump's own energy plan, on the other hand, will create jobs and
trillions of dollars of wealth.
Despite what Trump says, it's not clear at all how he'll do that. That's because Trump didn't release a policy paper that explained what he'll do about climate and energy, something that Clinton has done. Because of this, practically every expert I spoke with had to tell me first that figuring out exactly what Trump plans to do is nearly impossible. Still, there's some meat in Trump's speech to dissect, so here's a list of the things that Trump said that just don't hold up. Number 1, Trump thinks making the U.S. energy independent would be good for the economy.
Under my presidency, we'll accomplish a complete American energy independence. Complete.
For most people, being energy independent means relying solely on domestic production to power the US. But since Trump also called for the renewal of the Keystone XL pipeline project, a project that would bring Canadian oil into the US, he clearly doesn't actually want to cut out all foreign oil sources. So let's just operate under the assumption that Trump wants to stop importing oil from countries outside North America. So what's wrong with the whole let's make America energy independent thing? For one thing, the US is the largest oil producer in the world. So even though Trump painted the US as a country that's trapped under the weight of foreign oil markets, Americans are actually doing pretty well for themselves. But that's not all. Relying on a single source of energy, the US's own supply, is risky. If something were to happen, like a devastating hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico, then the US wouldn't have other reliable sources to turn to. So really, maintaining multiple sources of oil is a good thing because it protects the economy from unexpected shocks in the market. Number 2. Trump thinks wind farms kill more than 1 million birds each year.
While the administration fast-tracked wind projects that kill more than 1 million birds a year. Far more than 1 million birds, I have to tell you, far more.
It's not clear where that number comes from, but it's inaccurate. In 2014, researchers estimated that 368,000 birds are killed each year when they hit wind turbines. And the Fish and Wildlife Service says that wind turbines kill somewhere between 140,000 and 573,000 birds each year. But if you look at Trump's other positions, that statement becomes downright silly. By some estimates, coal mining, the industry that Trump wants to revive, kills close to 8 million birds each year. And oil and gas kills between 500,000 and 1 million birds. So claiming that wind turbines are killing American birds is ridiculous in comparison. Number 3. Trump thinks environmental regulations are killing the coal industry.
Regulations that shut down hundreds of coal-fired power plants and block the construction of new ones. How stupid is that?
Environmental regulations, like restrictions on federal land use, have had an effect on the coal industry. But what Trump doesn't mention here is that the regulatory impacts are nothing compared to the effect that the natural gas industry has had on energy production in the US. The truth is that natural gas is a lot cheaper right now, so coal is being left behind. And that means that bringing back coal would probably have an adverse effect on natural gas production. But that's not even the weirdest part of Trump's position on coal. In his speech, Trump referred to using untapped reserves of natural gas on federal lands, which is clearly a reference to fracking. But if Trump removes the regulations that prevent fracking on federal lands, that would probably lower the cost of natural gas even further, and more coal workers would lose their jobs. Number 4. Trump thinks the Paris Climate Agreement gives foreign bureaucrats control over how much energy the US consumes, so he wants to cancel it.
President Obama entered the United States into the Paris Climate Accords unilaterally and without the permission of Congress. So foreign bureaucrats are going to be controlling what we're using and what we're doing on our land in our country. No way. No way.
The Paris Climate Agreement definitely doesn't give foreign bureaucrats control over how much energy the US uses. The agreement clearly states that countries can determine their own plans for cutting emissions. As for canceling the agreement, the US doesn't have the power to make that happen. So far, more than 190 countries have approved the agreement. But if Trump becomes president, he might be able to pull the US out of the agreement before it's ratified. Backing out now, however, would be catastrophic, both for the world's climate and for the US's global reputation. Number 5. Trump thinks the oil and gas industry employs way more people than it actually does.
The oil and natural gas industry supports 10 million high-paying American jobs and create another 400,000 new jobs per year.
Despite what Trump says, the oil and gas industry isn't a big player when it comes to jobs in the US. In January 2016, 181,000 workers were directly employed in oil and gas extraction, while last year the coal industry employed another 69,000. Number 6, Trump didn't mention climate change, but his denial shines through. The closest the Trump campaign came to mentioning climate change in his energy speech was this.
A Trump administration will focus on real environmental challenges, not the phony ones that we've been looking at.
The use of the word phony is important because Trump himself is a well-documented climate change denialist and conspiracy theorist. See, he doesn't just think that climate change is fake, he also thinks it's a hoax orchestrated by the Chinese. So failing to mention climate change might actually be a strategic move for him. Diving into that subject would have turned an already terrible speech into a total farce. The point is, Trump doesn't really seem to understand the intricacies of energy and environmental policy in the US. During the month of May alone, we learned that Trump wants to kill California's smelt, but save birds from wind turbines. He's also fine with denying climate change publicly while citing it as a reason to save his Irish golf course. And when he's dealing with fossil fuels, it's totally fine to expand fracking while somehow reviving the coal industry. The contradictions are so abundant that it's kind of hard to keep track. Of course, given how often he's changed his mind over the years, each of these positions could be entirely different tomorrow. No. You're wrong. You're so wrong about this. Like, no, my dear sir. That is wrong.